now. So this is me on stream. I discovered this this Pontos with Tawil support team actually works very well on mob fights and boss fights for main story team. Now, I'm using my whaled out Tawil, but I think this Bluwill team is as strong as my current Bluwill team for counter. And you can replace the regular Murphy. Like, you don't need the regular Murphy. Well, this is just an E3 regular Murphy. Everyone else is plus 12. But you can do this with an E2 Tawil. In the actual video, I'm going to showcase some of the coaching sessions with someone who only has an E2 Tawil, but she still has a whaled out Pontos with this. But this Pontos team, in story mode, actually does numbers. Because Tawil charges up and fills up the Pontos very well, and you don't die. You never die playing this team because it has so much strength down. It has so much strength down with the Pontos and Tawil. It's impossible to die, and his tentacles scales up insanely fast. It's faster than G Murphy scaling. So let me show what I'm talking about in a boss fight. Let me show you the clip from the boss fight real quick here. So swap here, and this is the boss fight. So this is turn 1, by the way, of the boss fight. So in story mode, this can take advantage of any gimmick faster than Corpo. So I'm going to show you like turn 1 boss fight here. Let me speed this up, because I was experimenting with this, and I think I can make this slightly better and more whaled out. But again, like, we're going to watch how fast I can get the Caucus Exalt strength here. Because I was, like, testing out stuff. But, like, once you get the full thing, like, Tawil can just copy the Pontos' discard team and stuff. And because Tawil's, like, the one of the best units in the game. And you play her as a support here. So you give the Dream Covenant to Pontos. And then you make Tawil your Keyflare bot. Why is Caucus here? For his Exalt and for his retained cards. And that's the only reason why he's here. And Murphy's here to assure you survive. But I didn't need to use Murphy's Exalt at all. This is a 0 DR proc. Hard mode story. And this is quite impressive because I was in no danger of dying. Because you guys know that this boss does like 1200 plus damage. At no point did I take any damage. I was full HP the entire time. So I was just thinking here how to make this work. And it's so much damage on the conjoined. Because the problem with Tawil, okay. I want you to just see this. How insane this is. So very first turn red stance. Because we have the Divine Blue Realm. And the survivability. When I Caucus Exalt. Very first turn of battle now. Without me optimizing. Because of the Pontos crit damage on his conjoined. Look at how much damage counter he does. Very first turn, and this is not optimized. I've been optimizing this. I got this up to cap. Counter cap. So if you play enough conjoined gaunts very first turn, you can reach counter cap turn 1 boss battle with Caucus Exalt here. So again, this is a thing. Yeah, Pontos E3 is good enough. All that matters is the conjoined gaunts. All that matters is the conjoined gaunt is buffing it. Because, conjoined gaunt is buffing it for story mode. Because how this works is because, again, I'm releasing the Pontos, Doricine Pontos stuff. Is because this buffs also your tentacle. And Caucus is over Exalt. It makes a tentacle hit 5 times on the boss. You know, and you get counter based on how much damage it does. So if it crits, which it probably will, with playing enough conjoined gaunts, you get an insane amount of counter every time he overexalts. So again, it works with his Shattered Halberd as well, but then you have to rely on his base crit rate, which is most times going to be low. You build Caucus as just your support DR. You take out all of your crit rate from Caucus. All your crit rate, crit damage. You don't play Caucus's card ever. You don't care about it. And you're future flares here. And I realize I need to explain how it works more in detail because some of you are coming from dogshit guides. So let me explain how blue actually works and how this tentacle stance works. So if you're following the dogshit content creators who don't know how to play the game, which I cover extensively, you don't know how this works. So you click on the empty small slots to look at the crit rate and crit damage of your tentacle. Now, how is this calculated? The short answer is it's the average of your entire team's crit rate. That's not exactly how. It's just like, it is an average. It's not the exact average. There's some other math behind the scenes. Now, for Caucus, his overexalt triggers tentacle hits, not his crit rate, not his crit damage per se. It's this value. Now, Pontos is strong because his Slagon, and in the clip you were just watching, or in the video, you notice that there was a 148 to 168% crit damage number here. That is team-wide. What does that mean? That means that when I buff it, it goes in 100% into tentacle crit damage. Like, if I play this card right now, which buffs, this is just one regular gauntlet, not a conjoined, not double blade. You see the full value went in. It jumped to 133%. You see that? Now, if I were to use a individual crit rate or crit damage wheel or covenant on another unit, in this case, let's grab the strike. This is the reason why I picked Jella here. This is not a real comp, you fucking retards. So this, 15% crit rate, 15% crit damage. The number doesn't go full into this. If it did, it will be, what? It will be 148% crit damage, and it will be 46.6%. Let's play this strike. No. Increased by a fraction of that. Increased by 4% crit rate and 4% crit damage. Because it only buffs Jellet's crit rate. Whereas this number at the bottom here applies to team-wide. That's how the damage calculation it works in the game. And what Caucus's overexalt does is it triggers a tentacle to hit 5 times. So, Pontos buffs the tentacles by his pure crit damage value. And any ability that scales off tentacles or affects tentacle in general. So, in a normal Caucus scenario, you will want to rely off strength. But crit damage and tentacle scaling is better than relying on pure strength for Caucus overexalt. And Caucus overexalt builds counter better than his actual ability. Like, this works with a level 60 OE Caucus or level 90 Caucus. Why? Because you don't care about the levels. You care about your tentacle damage and your tentacle crit and crit damage, which Pontos buffs at a 1-to-1 ratio in regards to crit damage. There are only a few units in the game that can buff tentacle crit damage at a 1-to-1 ratio or the crit rate. For the crit rate, and Awakener that's very good, but people don't really use her in blue because she doesn't really function with most blue units right now, is Daffodil. Daffodil is probably one of the few units that buff permanent crit rate for tentacles because it affects all 4 units. That means it's not diminished. So that's how it works. That's how I'm able to get Caucus up to do that much counter on the very first overexalt of that battle. Now, again, this is very boring watching it. I'm going to go back to past flares in a second. What does that mean? Do not build fucking crit rate or crit damage on your fucking Caucus. Holy fucking shit. Build survivability and other fucking shit. You fucking retards. You don't need fucking crit rate, crit damage on him. Because it only affects 1/4 time. You want to get your crit rate in live production. Not in the theory crafting menu, in game. So, back to past flares. On his overexalt. If you have it to generate his counter. So as you see here, this is not optimized. I only played like 1 conjoined gaunt, and this is 40,000. And later on, when I was testing it with the later bit iterations, which I don't have good clips for, you can reach counter cap turn 1 with an OE caucus on this team because your base technical damage is also high as well. So your base technical damage is also high first turn. So all that, and then I end turn here. And there's more to this comp. Again, my Bluwill comp is healing. So this first turn 50,000 counter here. And counter cap is like 70,000 counter. So it's very close to counter cap. There. And you would rouse Pontos first. You don't need the OE Pontos here. Like, I never take advantage of his OE, really. Like, because it's going to kill anyway. You can see the damage. So, and you scale up technical damage very fast as the turn goes by. So what speed is it down here? Again, I read. I play slowly so I can talk over in these videos. And you don't need the Tawil overkill. When I was helping someone build this comp, I was using just a regular Tawil. And in my, in the actual full video, which I'll edit a few short clips, I'll showcase with the E2 Tawil. And E2 Tawil works just fine. Now, where you can find the hours of testing that I can min-max this comp, because I did it all on stream and I helped someone else with an E2 Tawil. An E2 Tawil would work just fine, as well as an underinvested Pontos. Now, this is some of the clips of my videos on my streams. So I help people make comps for story mode and D-tides all the time. And I know what the average player experience is, because I'm not fucking retarded like other content creators. So, you don't believe me? My Discord has a lot of 425 clears. And you're going to see it all on stream. Where can you find it? Well, the full clip. Boom. Click on live. And this stream, not the Halo streams. This stream is the recent coaching. And I did formulate this comp over a couple of streams. So you have to find it. It's Ruvito, by the way. Ruvito, shout out to Ruvito, Ruvi. This girl who I helped coach. I made this team for her because that's all she has. I might make a video of me coaching her to highlights. I helped her get 390, 395. So, but it's the opposite end of the spectrum. Big spoiler alert. She's French. Now, people say she's a girl. Maybe she speaks, but she's French. She's not a human being. Okay. So I had to deal with talking to a French woman, and it was quite frustrating. In one of these streams, again, this is like over 20 hours in the past week. So, enjoy. Yeah, it's 20 plus hours of me running that Pontos comp and coaching D-Tide. Just click on one of these if you want the full footage. But, get back to the video. If you want to find the proof, there it is. 20 hours of proof. Because I ran it for like half of those hours. Just over and over again. Fine-tuning the comp. Also, second tidbit. Yes, I realize my subscribe list is on the left-hand side here. This is what I watch. Documentaries, new bands like Sum 41, and Found Flicks, great YouTube channel. 3 Days Grace, a great new band. Boys Like Girls, also a great band. All great new bands. I'm very young. You pull the gaunts, you pull the charges, and you pull the chosen ones. So you're going to fill up Pontos' Exalt with Tawil. That's her purpose here. And she's going to pull the gaunt words. And she's going to help discard your team. And you run the discard posse, obviously. So every turn is just this. I was never in danger of dying playing this. I can kill every turn. And obviously with the gaunt words. And look at this. It's just Blues Dance. All the damage is just from his gaunt cards. Because we're scaling up technical damage here. Do that. Waltz. Again, I get back all the tentacles because I have Tawil. You play her as the actual support unit here. And you take advantage of story mode gimmicks. This works in any story mode stage. I just did the hardest one, which is the most recent one, to showcase how it works here. So, end turn. And you rouse everyone, obviously, by the end. And you run the posse. And she's your Keyflare bot. She's a good Keyflare bot. And Murphy, you save her Exalt where you need it. Why is Murphy here? Because her 3 cost is retain. You want retain units. The only reason Cock is here is for the counter and the Exalt combo. Because retain cards have a +1 value if you're thinking about like card economy for retain for discard. Because they don't get they don't get eliminated when you end turn. So you want retain units. You can replace the Murphy here with anyone. So this works actually smoother than my Hamo G-Dog comp. In my opinion, it is more complicated than the Hamo G-Dog comp. But after testing it, I think it's actually stronger story mode than my traditional Bluwill comp. I think this comp is actually stronger than the traditional Bluwill comp on bosses that summons mobs. On bosses that summons mob, this is stronger. But the Bluwill comp is a stronger single target comp. This is a stronger AoE comp because of the Pontos. Now again, it's been 4 turns. Nothing has done damage to us yet. Nothing has done damage to us. And since we have the buff wave, I just rest dance this turn. Again, this is my very first time testing it, so I'm not playing it optimally. I can play this comp like a lot better if I were to play it now. But again, I was in no danger of dying. And this is, okay, hold up. So Tawil does insane amounts of damage in a Pontos comp compared to traditional Bluwill. Because the base tentacle damage is so high because of Pontos and how he scales with his gaunts that you can run this with an E2 level 60 Tawil. You can run this with a level 1 Tawil for all I care. You don't care about her damage on her wings. You care about the fact that her wings proc tentacle damage. Because again, the tentacle damage now does 2,400 each. So you can do this with a very weak Tawil as well. I'll go back to it in a second. Like, again, I did do the marionette, so it kind of skews things. But it does do a lot because the base number on it is very low. Because again, we only have 67 strength here. So this is the main scaler of Tawil here. The tentacle damage in red stance form. But this Tawil is going to do weaker damage because, again, you see her 4 wings, it only did 399 damage each because the strength is so low. Because this is a tentacle damage team. So this comp can work with a weaker invested Tawil. And that's how it generally works because it's all the tentacle damage proc. Because it's only 400 damage per wing hit. But each wing hit also triggers this in a red stance turn. But this does shift most of the damage to red stance turns rather than consistent damage of a traditional Bluwill team. So, yeah. So that's a pretty hefty damage. And if you wing it up, it's a lot of damage. And you can play the gaunts at 0. So another reason why this would work, because you have the key flare. So you can play the X cards at 0 mana, or when a Rift Harmony happens. So you can plan ahead with the gaunts a Rift Harmony, for example. And just Exalt and boss. You can over Exalt, whatever. That's 410k. But again, that's because it's over Exalt. A regular Pontos, that's 100k. And 100,000 damage is still good. And you get the 9 thing if you're farming kills. And this comp is very easy to farm kills as well. Because you're playing Tawil over the course of a mob fights. And you're going to have a lot of survivability by playing Bluwill. So you can farm the kills every turn with this. This is only for story mode. I do not recommend this on D-Tide. This is too much investment. This is too whaled out for D-Tide. This is too whaled out for D-Tide. Never, never, never use this for D-Tide. This is too whaled out for D-Tide. But in story mode, this is fine. In story mode, this is fine. You would probably never die here. You'll probably never die here. It's insanely easy to play. Again, I could wing it up, but again, I just want to showcase survivability. Now, turn 4, we have 133,000 counter. So we don't need to build up counter anymore. And I didn't showcase it here, but if I were to grab a Pharaoh's 2-cost card from Tawil, it would also inflict 30,000+ poison because it scales off the tentacle damage in red stance, especially if it crits. So it's still a Bluwill comp with Pontos here. Again, you use Exalt or Overexalt into Will whenever you can, and you grab cards. So so in this scenario, I could have grabbed the Oceans, but I was experimenting still. So you grab the Gaunt words chosen if you want to apply poison, grab the Oceans, or you grab the Abyssum, or you grab the Lightning. So I think I grabbed the Lightning here. But you always grab the Gaunt words. And since Tawil double plays Gaunt words after she exils, if she happens to grab the Gaunt words, it gets all of your, stuff back in your hand. Let's watch. So you see that? It double played, and that's Tawil's gimmick. Any investment level, if she does this, E0, E1, E2. So you grab all of these things, and you can just freely discard them or play them. So that's how Tawil can help the Pontos. Also, her Omni card, for example. If the top deck is a Gaunt word, it is retained, or you can just play the copy Gaunt word. So you can cycle through your deck really fast if you're playing Tawil as a support here. So, again, this is a whaled out comp. I'm not making anything about it, but it works better than the traditional blue. And it works non-whaled out as well. Because I did coach someone who was doing this on hard mode. I just wanted to showcase how strong I can get. I'm going to do one more test where I'm going to change something else. I'm going to change something else to check if it works. But, yeah, I like this a lot. I like this a lot. I like this setup a lot. I'm not gonna lie. So, Divine Mate, yep, chosen one. And I would have killed the boss this turn if it weren't for the reinforce or next turn, because the 50% reinforce prevents me from killing the boss that fast. I just have to do 10% health every turn. Is very annoying. Boss is very annoying if you don't have a reinforce removal, or you trigger the gimmick. But, yeah, I was never in danger of dying. Like, this turn, 400 and 500 strength down. 150,000 counter. You can just AFK your way through, most bosses playing this. You can just AFK your way through most bosses playing this. It's quite good. I was skeptical because it seems like it doesn't work that well with Caucus, because you want how does Caucus work in this comp? So I figured out his overexalt is fueled super hard by this, super hard by this. So you just play Caucus overexalt here, you ignore Caucus' card, you make him a support unit, and you just use him for his utility. Yeah, and that's eventually. This is turn 8. We have 3,000, almost 3,000 tentacle damage in Blue Stance right now. Just by scaling up with Pontos. We have no strength. This is not a strength scaling comp. We have 82 strength here, guys. We have 82 strength here, but we have 3,000 tentacle damage. Because of the Pontos. Because I'm using Tawil as a support to discard and play the Gaunts faster. Over and over again. So this scales insanely hard compared to most comps. But the problem with this comp is that the start of it, again, it's 1,000, but eventually it becomes insane damage. So you can just kill the boss with just his Gaunt cards. You can just kill the boss with just his Gaunt cards by the end of the battle. By the end of the battle, and just focus on surviving with all of your utility units. Okay, I'm playing Conjoined Gaunt here, as you can see. So yeah, so this was turn 9. One Conjoined Gaunt with the Pack Hunt is 600,000 damage. It is with, and remember, Ancient Embers shouldn't, yeah. It's 600,000, 900,000. Yeah, it is 1,000,000 damage, not playing anyone else's cards, just the Gaunts. Just the Gaunts. And you just exalt on him whenever you survive. And again, no DR procs whatever. I was testing this comp. I was running DR wheels on people, on a lot of teammates. So I was like, maybe I need DR on this. Maybe I'll die. Maybe this comp wouldn't work. You probably don't need to run DR on this. You probably just have one for emergency purposes. But I didn't use the execute. I didn't use anything. And I did this in 10 turn kill. Without using a proc in a single DR comp. Not even coming close to death. Not using Murphy Exalt once. So I didn't even need the Murphy here. Really. I didn't even need to use the Murphy here. I was just... So you can put any other unit here. Just whatever has the most health. And again, I'm just showcasing you. Like, I wasn't even close. I wasn't even close to dying here. And this turn I kill, obviously. So you just got million damage. That. Yeah. And you just conjoined. I really wish I got the yeah, here we go. And I'll showcase this. This is a Caucus Overexalt. This is a Caucus Overexalt turn 10 red stance. So that generated us another 40,000+ counter here. And that's with the 50% reinforce. Because only half of it went through. Only half of it went through because of the reinforce the boss does. So if it was the full, this would have generated us 80,000 counter turn 10 on the Caucus Overexalt. It would have done more if I played the Conjoined Gaunt. But I wanted to showcase the 12 damage too. So that would have generated 80,000 counter just from the Caucus Overexalt from the 5,000 technical damage we have here. And this is when I finally exalt on the G Murphy, exalt, and the boss dies here, obviously, to our counter. So we have 240,000 counter this turn. Yeah, dead. So yeah, that's something. That's something I want to showcase here. Yeah, Kaylee never farms kills when he use Pontos. Yeah, because he's fucking trash, dude. It doesn't work if you don't if you don't farm kills. You need to farm kills on the Pontos here. So let me go in and showcase you what wheels you can use. So this is a test. Oh yeah, I was testing it further. This is dog shit, by the way. This is complete dog shit. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is dog shit. This is the worst dog shit I have ever ran in my life. This is complete dog shit. This is the most dog shit comp I have ever made a comp. It's still better than Kaylee's comp. Still better than Kaylee's comps. But like, this is dog shit comp. This is a dog shit story mode comp, dude. I can't stress how dog shit this is. I'm gonna delete all footage of me running this comp. I'm gonna delete all footage of me running this comp because this is complete dog shit. It does nothing. It does nothing. Let me show you the footage real quick. It does nothing. It was a pain to play. I thought, oh, maybe a Rita would work. Yep, it said my theory was right. It was a pain. It was a pain. It does damage, but that's all Pontos. It was still a 10-turn kill. I deleted all of Arita cards. Arita might have been a fucking brick. Arita might as well been a brick in this comp because I thought, oh, maybe I used the Arita Exo. You're never, ever going to get enough glands, realistically. It's not worth it. It floods your deck too hard. It floods your deck too hard with Arita. Complete dog shit. Complete dog shit to put Arita here. Don't recommend. So Murphy is what I found to work the best so far in this last slot. I'm still experimenting with this last slot because I don't need the Murphy. But I don't know what else can be better than Murphy here. That's what I'm going to experiment with. The last slot here. Now, the wheels, you don't need this, but if you're a whale, you will use this. You would use the Following Sun wheel that I showcased for farming kills. You would use this wheel for Pontos and use Dreams on him. Make her your Keyflare bot. If you run a regular you run her wheel and Blade. So you get the Exalt cheaper. You still want the discount Exalt. Solis. Maybe Solis. I think Murphy would still be better than Solis, though. I think if Murphy would still be better than Solis. G Murphy would make this top too whaled out. I was gonna test that, but it might make it too whaled out, you know? It might make the comp too whaled out. So, Burf, this is just Caucus. He's just gonna be the healer. So this doesn't have to be a Keyflare bot. You can put whatever wheels you have here. I just put whatever my best wheels are. You can just put, again, I didn't need a single DR proc in that entire comp, so I'm gonna remove these DR wheels. I'm gonna remove these DR wheels probably for story mode. I'm still workshopping this, guys. I'm still workshopping this. So yeah. This is future flares. Now this is after hours of testing on stream with different comps to figure out what's the best variant of the Pontos Tawil support comp. So, basically anyone. But first off, we're going to talk about Pontos Tawil. You only need an E2 Tawil to make this work and an E3 Pontos. And I've shown people how to use it on stream. Again, click on the stream. If you want me to showcase it, let me know. I'll just upload these 6+ hours of footage. No one will watch that fucking shit. So, what wheels do you put here? Well, I explained the pros and benefits of these last 2 slots. So, the last 2 slots. So, this, technically, if you have a whale out Pontos, these are the best 2 options. But again, most people do not have these plus 12 wheels. You would use, where's that fucking auto win wheel? You know what I'm talking about. Here we go. The booby wheel. The booby wheel for the second wheel if you want cheap, or the Morimens wheel if you want optimal. The optimal one is Morimens wheel, but the booby wheel works just fine. So, Tawil, what do you use? Not these 2. Fucking garbage. Unequip. Tawil's wheel is good. You don't need a plus 12. I have a plus 12. And if you don't have any other options, you use, what do you use here? Titan's Blade. Your best source of crit damage and crit rate for Tawil, but the main reason you're using this is for the cost reduction 1G exalts, because you want the cost reduction to have more mana to play Pontos cards. It's very helpful. Now you can put on some DR wheels, you can put on some whatever other wheel, but this is what I found to help the most. Again, since it's a standard plus 12 wheel, you don't need any of the regular wheels plus 12. So, this is what I would run on these 2. You want Dreams on Pontos for more Gauntwards. You want to farm the kills. Tawil is your Keyflare bot. You want the posse to be the discard posse here. Now, what are the last 2 slots? What works best here? So, what I found worked best so far is what I just showed you. Because I tried to experiment more. It's just the Murphy Caucus. This is what works best. This is what works best, and I'll explain why. You don't even need the Murphy, but she's comfortable having there for more Keyflare and for more extra survivability if you're uninvested. What wheels you put on her? Surprisingly, not Keyflare. Just put whatever DR. You're probably not going to proc DR, but if you want to, or Keyflare. It doesn't matter. I like putting this on if you don't have plus 12 wheels, it's fine. Just you leave her empty. The purpose of her here, don't put DR covenant, don't put this. Just put either DR or a money covenant. Whatever you can. You run them both DR if you want. I don't give a fuck. Because, again, these 2 units are the only units that matter in this comp. These units are only good for their exalts. So you can put it in Alienus. And their wheels, your best survival wheels. So the best thing I can find that will work on Caucus is just Birth of a Soul and random dog shit wheel here. Random dog shit wheel. Your best wheel. You should know what your best wheel is. What I run is his money wheel, because I'm a greedy bastard. Now, for her, what do you run on regular Murphy? Whatever your best wheels are. If you have it for your main story team, you would use Sigil Yield and you would put it on Saya's wheel. If you don't, you run Keyflare, DR, Polar is good. It doesn't matter. As long as it makes sense and you're not fucking retarded, like some other people when making comps. So, again, you can run whatever. Do not build crit rate on either of these units. All of your crit rate is going to come from Tawil and Pontos, whether it's from the wheel or from the in-exploration crit rate, like Blind Obedience, the symptom. It's one of the best symptoms you can use for this comp is Blind Obedience, or stuff similar to that. That's where you're going to get your crit rate from. Because the nerf crit rate for Tentacle, because you rely on Tentacle damage and the scaling of that, you don't even need to run crit damage. Only if you want to run the Caucus. Now, what variants did I try that was worse, that was dog shit? Well, I mentioned in video. I'm not going to put the clips because the video is already too long, but I tried replacing Caucus for Rita. God awful. God awful fucking retarded. If you run this comp, you're fucking retarded like fucking Kaylee. You're fucking brain dead retarded. Eating out of your ass. You just shit and you put it in your mouth. You're a fucking retard. You put a Rita here. It was god awful. It would clutter your deck too hard. You don't want the glands. You don't want even her discard. You don't want her HP nerf. You don't want anything to do with Arita. Does not function well. Does not synergize well. You just want the gaunts, not the glands. Arita does not work. I tried. I gave her a good hour. It was dog shit. What else did I try in this slot? Vortex. It works. Not as good as Caucus. Not as good as Caucus. It works. Not as good as Caucus. You don't need her. Maybe even if the boss has reinforce, you don't want her. You don't want her. It's an XL comp. Sure, she functions. You will clear just as same as Caucus. Caucus will help you clear faster because it gives you counter, it gives you bone, it gives you dispel, it gives you healing. If you run Vortex in many of these variants, you won't have the healing. That means while you're going against bosses with active damage, if a boss has bleed, you better pray you kill the boss before the boss kills you. Because Vortex does not synergize this comp that well. Not that well, to be honest. Tried it. It works. Just not that well. What else did I try on stream? Corpo. Now, Corporal on paper. On paper, it functions. Now when I'm playing him, it functions well. Caucus is just still better. Again, his counter and his retain cards are just superior than Corpo's. Because Lightning, while a nice card, does not matter. Because you're not doing that much damage with active damage. You're doing most of your damage with the gaunts and you're stalling. She does not help this comp stall. The main purpose of this comp is to stall the mob waves. You want to get your 3 kills every mob wave. If you're not getting your 3 kills, you're playing like fucking Kaylee or another retard. You want to farm kills on Pontos. You want to survive. Corpo gives you damage. He gives you damage for her lightnings. In order to get her shield, you need to play her lightning. That kills the mob. Does not function well, particularly in this comp. Caucus at least gives the passive healing and good defensive capabilities. Corpo, not so much. Now on a damage comp, sure. But it is about surviving to get the 3 kills on Pantos. So, does not work that well. So, what else did I try in this slot? Solis does not work. It reduces your HP too much. You have to rely on other factors. Not that good. Now, what does work that's an alternative to Caucus? Miriam. Miriam works because of her Chosen One and her Sacraments, and the way her Rouse functions. The way her Rouse functions and how much key flare this team is going to get, and her healing. She functions very well as a substitute for Caucus. Very well, actually. I liked her a lot. And additional strength down sources. Miriam works quite well in this comp. What would you run on Miriam if you're running her? Just whatever. Run Sigil Yield, run DR. I don't give a fuck. Miriam's just good for her rouse and for her cards. So, sell her 2 costs and her strike. What else works with this story mode comp? So, Sangha. Does Sangha work well with this comp? Not without her relic. Not without her relic. Does not work as well as Caucus. There's no reason to run Sangha here. She does help for survivability, but not enough retain cards. What do I mean by not enough retain cards? You want a unit with retain cards. There are no retain cards without her image relic. Now, this comp functions. You need to want at least the last unit to have retain to pair with the Murphy. Why do you want retain card players? If you're not fucking retarded, you should know why you want retain cards. You're playing Tawil. Tawil needs retain cards on other units so she can retain her Omni card. If you're not retaining her Omni cards, you're playing like fucking Kaylee again. You're a fucking retard. So, again, we need a retain card to hold the Omni to continue the combo so we can have it on a good retain card. That's utility. You want to use Tawil as a utility unit. If you don't know how to play Tawil, sorry, you're one of those fucking retards. Look at my guides. Now, G Murphy works better than Caucus on 80% of bosses. On 80% of bosses, technically this is the best in slot wailed out Bluwill Pontos team. Technically this is the best in slot wailed out Bluwill team on 80, maybe 70% of bosses. On the remaining 20 to 30% of bosses, worse than Caucus. You lose. Why? You have sacrifice stacks. The boss gives you bleed. This dies on bosses that gives you bleed. If the boss is bleed and has counter, you die. Because it's not as strong G Murphy comp, it does less sacrifice damage than a real G Murphy comp. It's worse in every way than a real G Murphy comp. You don't want this. In 70% of cases, on easy bosses, this will kill faster than the Caucus comp. But at that point, just run the G Murphy team. So, again, on bleed bosses, on certain bosses, this auto loses. Now, what else would function well that I've tested? So, that's enough for blue units. Chaos units. So, Hamel. How did Hamel function in this comp? He doesn't. Because you want to rouse Pontos and Tawil. Hamel's going to be your third option you rouse. That is too long into the fight. That is too long into the fight to be worth it. And Tawil and Pontos doesn't need his dupe abilities. Because Tawil already duped with her Exalt on the Gauntlet. So you don't need to Hamel at all. So, obviously Calf doesn't work. Obviously Manchette doesn't work. So, what does work? Well, the only unit here that actually works quite well, G-Doll. It patches up the weaknesses of this comp just like Caucus. What are the weaknesses of this comp? Healing. Healing. That's why Miriam's good. That's why Caucus is good. That's why G-Doll is good. Why do you need healing flares? We have all this strength down. And we have Divine Blue. Our biggest weakness is bleed, which we can only remove by healing. We can't have shield every turn on bosses with bleed. We need to heal up. She patches the one weakness of this comp. Lack of healing, like Miriam and Caucus. So the last slot should always be a healer, in some regards. That means Caucus. Or G-Doll or Miriam. So, what wheels you put on this? Whatever the fuck you want. The only wheels that matters are the one on Pontos and the one on Tawil. These units, your best utility wheel, folks. So if it's G-Doll, just run her typical wheels. If it's anyone else, I like running money. This comp benefits a lot from money. Just run money on these guys. Just run DR. Just run utility wheels. So that concludes this video.